What do you do when antidepressants don't help, or worse, they make your symptoms worse and make you feel worse? Hello, and welcome to this growing community. I'm Carrie Bailey, your functional nutritionist. I work with people with anxiety, depression, and other weird mystery symptoms, and together we heal. In today's video, you'll learn some of the negative impacts of antidepressants, specifically SSRIs. These are things like Prozac, Zoloft, or Celexa. Then you'll learn specific foods, supplements, and lifestyle practices so that you can kick your SSRI to the curb with your doctor's blessing, of course. Let's start talking about what an SSRI is and how it works. So SSRI stands for Selective Serotonin Reuptake Inhibitor. So what that means is it is keeping the serotonin in that synapse between your nerves longer. It's sort of tricking your brain into thinking that you have more serotonin. But in essence, what would be better is if we increase your overall serotonin and make sure that you have more serotonin in your body. There's a number of side effects that your doctor may or may not tell you about before they put you on SSRIs. And so it's important to understand, if you haven't looked this up yourself, what some of the symptoms you're experiencing, whether those are side effects or whether it's just making your overall symptoms worse. Now, one thing your doctor definitely won't be telling you about is nutrient deficiencies. There's a number of nutrients that are depleted when you're taking an SSRI, especially the longer you take it, the longer you're going to have, the worse of these nutrient deficiencies could be. In addition to the fact that these nutrients are frequently deficient anyways, which may have part of the reason that led you to need an SSRI in the first place. SSRIs can deplete your melatonin, which is kind of interesting, right? Because in order for you to make melatonin, you need serotonin. So ultimately, the problem is that you're not getting enough building blocks to make serotonin. Because if you have enough serotonin, then you can go on to make melatonin. You'll be sleeping like a baby and you will not have mood issues. The other nutrients that are depleted are water soluble, which means you need to replete these every day. So these are things like B vitamins. All of your B vitamins are going to be depleted, especially folate and B12, which are very important, again, for you to methylate, which helps you detoxify, which helps you, ironically, make neurotransmitters. And the last nutrient deficiency is sodium. So, when you don't have enough sodium, sodium acts as an electrolyte in the body. It helps your overall mineral balance. It helps keep you hydrated and things like that. So if that becomes out of balance, it could be anything from edema, balance issues, to anything that an electrolyte would impact. The other thing I've noticed in most of my clients that have been on SSRIs for any length of time is weight gain. This is not something they will tell you, but if you look at the insert on most of those packages, it will tell you that there's unexplained weight gain. One of the effects that people really don't want, and the reason they want to come off an SSRI, is because it causes sexual dysfunction. For men, this might be an erectile dysfunction. It might be that you can't get an erection, you can't hold an erection, you can't even have an orgasm. And the same thing for women. You might not have any desire. You might have low libido, you might have low desire, and you might not be able to reach an orgasm. And that could be really problematic when that is something that is so important for our livelihood, our well-being. This diminishes your sex, you're probably going to want to come off those SSRIs. There may be an increase in other physical symptoms when you start taking an SSRI, and you might not even know that those are connected to the SSRI. Things like insomnia, rashes, headaches, pain. It's important to understand, again, what these SSRIs are doing in your body, what symptoms they might be making worse. If you're a person who's tried numerous times to come off an SSRI without success, I'd love to refer you to a video that I did previously on benzodiazepines and coming off benzodiazepines and ways to come off of them. I'd love to share my personal experience with taking an SSRI. This was many moons ago, probably 30 years ago. I was planning my wedding and I was super stressed. I'm an overachiever. I'm a type A person. And I wanted that wedding to be perfect, of course. And so I was working full time, trying to plan a wedding, etc., and over analyzing everything as I have been known to do. So I went to the doctor and I told her, like, I'm stressed out of my mind. I can't sleep. Help me. And she prescribed an SSRI. It was Celexa specifically. And she also gave me a sleeping pill. That was really helpful. And as you know, my story, I've always had sleeping problems, but this one was like off the charts. So I took the SSRI, I took Celexa. It did help. I noticed it pretty much right away. I felt better, even though they say to take it for 4 to 6 weeks. And the sleeping pill, I kind of took them at the same time. So it's hard to know what really helped what. Eventually, I just knew that I needed to come off of it. I was never been a meds person. I chose to come off of it straight away. I didn't work with my doctor. I probably should have, but I went off of it and I didn't have a problem. But there's a lot of people on the planet that have a lot of problems. Either they don't want to be on an SSRI or they can't come off of them for any number of reasons, because likely, as I talked about in the last video, your nervous system is very sensitive, and you also have an issue of not having enough neurotransmitters in the system, and you have nutrient deficiencies. And so when you come off of them, it's sort of like taking the scaffolding out, then you're going to have problems. And so that's sort of what we have to do in reverse. When you're coming off the SSRIs, we have to build up the scaffolding using diet and lifestyle and supplementation. We try to build the scaffolding up so that you can, in coordination with your doctor, of course, try to wean yourself off of those. And sometimes we need the doctor to help reduce the dosage. So it's a team effort. Let's talk about some ways that you can help your mental health, help your both anxiety and depression, some lifestyle, some supplement, and some foods. And these will also be helpful, either, again, putting them in so that you can come off the SSRI, or putting them in so that you don't need to go on an SSRI if that's something that you're trying to avoid going on and the doctor wants to put you on. One of the lifestyle practices that is so important for overall health is exercise. Everybody knows exercise is important, but maybe you don't understand why, or maybe you got a lot of fatigue and you can't find the energy to do it. And I would encourage you to find your limit, find what works for you, whether that's walking or yoga, and also finding what you love to do, what makes you feel really good. Anytime you can get the heart rate up, get your blood flowing, get your body moving, you're going to be moving lymph, you're going to be taking in more oxygen. And that oxygen is amazing because it kills pathogens, believe it or not. And that's why generally people that exercise on a regular basis, but healthier than people that are sedentary. Your oxygen may be low, maybe you already exercise enough, but your oxygen may be low for a couple of other reasons. One is that your diet is too high in fat. Imagine that your blood has to carry oxygen and nutrients and water and fluid and everything. It's your body's highway system that helps you function. And so if there's so much fat in there that you can't have enough water, you can't have enough oxygen, you're going to have a hard time. I mean, I noticed this personally. I love animal protein, so I probably will always have it in my life. But when I started taking down other fats, all of my fats, not just animal protein, but taking down all of my other fats, I noticed that I can breathe better. When I take a flight of stairs, when I do things where I do a burst of energy, I notice that I have more oxygen and I can breathe better. My heart isn't working so hard with all that extra fat in the system. The other thing that's so important is sunshine. We could not exist on this planet without sunshine. The plants need sunshine, but we as humans need sunshine. We're indoors a lot more than we ever were. And being outdoors, I know for me is life-changing. Like, in order for me to be in a good mood, I need the sunshine. I need to live east of the Mississippi. I need that sun in my eyes on a daily basis. Now, it gets hard in the winter when there's cloudy day after cloudy day. But even when there's cloudy day after cloudy day, going outside, getting that sun in your eyes, it's still on a cloudy day 10,000 times brighter outside than inside. So you are getting the benefits of the sun's rays even on a cloudy day. And in fact, some would say that you actually need it more on a cloudy day by going outside and getting that sunshine in your eyes. Even if it's just 5 minutes first thing in the morning, 5 minutes at noon, just little bits of time. It doesn't have to be outside all day long. Now, the number one supplement I would say to bring in is tryptophan or 5-HTP. Now, tryptophan and 5-HTP are both the precursors to serotonin in your body. So you're actually giving it, you're taking a lot of the steps of creating that building block with food and other things by skipping ahead and putting in the tryptophan and the 5-HTP. The 5-HTP is actually 5-hydroxytryptophan. So it's just further along in the chain. So you're saving your liver some time by, instead of converting tryptophan into 5-HTP, you're doing it for it. But everybody responds differently depending on their uniqueness, what they've got going on in their body. Some people do better with tryptophan, some people do better with 5-HTP. So you might have to play with it. So you can take 5-HTP as needed, or you can take it at the end of the day before bed. You can take it, tryptophan, the same thing. You can take it throughout the day. So if you're feeling kind of blue and a time when you're feeling, whether you're feeling depressed or anxious, you can try a little bit of tryptophan or a little bit of 5-HTP and see if it makes a difference. Tryptophan comes in a 500 milligram capsule, and 5-HTP comes in a 50 milligram capsule. And again, you're going to see that conversion because you don't need the whole 500 milligrams of 5-HTP because you're further along in the process. 5-HTP and tryptophan are really helpful if you have the following issues. If you feel negative or depressed, if you have seasonal affect disorder, if you worry or have anxiety, if you have low self-esteem, hyperactivity, obsessive thoughts or behaviors, if you feel irritable, if you have panic attacks or pain from headaches, fibromyalgia-like type pain or migraines, and if you have sleep issues. And if you find that you rely on starch or sweets or chocolate for that up, right? So you notice that you're gravitating towards, if you're like a person that uses sweets and starches and carbohydrates and chocolate for coping mechanism, right? Because you notice you're like, okay, I'm feeling a little down. I need that little pick me up. Maybe you're a person that has this, between lunch and dinner, but you just notice those times in the day when you need a little pick me up. Instead, try some 5-HTP, try some tryptophan. Tryptophan and 5-HTP can be used long-term, but I still think of it as a Band-Aid because I still want to put in the lower foundational building blocks in your body of food, supplements, and things to figure out what's going on in your body in the first place, right? Is there a pathogen? Is there a toxin? What is going on that is preventing you from making enough serotonin? And maybe it's not even serotonin that you need. Maybe it's dopamine that you need. Again, everybody's different. Now, there is a relationship between serotonin and dopamine in that one is low, it pulls the other one down. Does that make sense? They are related like that. The other thing about putting tryptophan in versus 5-HTP that you might find helpful is if there is a lot of inflammation in the body. If you have a lot of inflammation, what happens in your body, the biochemical pathways, is that tryptophan comes in and it might go down the kyurinate pathway because you're trying to deal with inflammation. So it might kind of steal it, if you will, and take it that way versus allowing you to use it for mood and for sleep. If you aren't a person that thinks you have a lot of inflammation, that's when you might want to choose 5-HTP because again, that sort of bypasses that. 5-HTP skips it and doesn't go down that pathway. 5-HTP is going to go down the mood and sleep pathway. All right, lastly, let's talk about foods. So it's so important. Carbs are important. And when I'm saying carbs, I'm talking about there are good carbs to eat, and things like potatoes, sweet potatoes, winter squashes like butternut squash or acorn squash or delicata squash. These good carbs are going to help you make serotonin in your body. Getting these in, especially in the evening, are going to be really helpful. I had a woman come to me one time, and she wasn't a client, but I was giving a talk on sugar, and she was telling me that she was doing the keto diet, but she's saying since she started keto, she couldn't sleep. And so then I suggested maybe you need a little bit more of these good carbs in your system in order for you to make serotonin so that you can sleep. Unfortunately, I didn't ever see her or talk to her again to know the result, but I hope that she's sleeping better. In summary, it's important to get your exercise for oxygen, the sunshine in your eyes for your mood, to supplement with either tryptophan or 5-HTP. Bring in the starchy vegetables every day in order to help your body make serotonin on its own. Have you broken free of an SSRI? How'd you do it? I'd love to hear. pop a comment below and share your story, what worked for you. If you're ready for a little bit more support, check out my anxiety and depression recovery guide in the description below. There you'll find tips and tricks and recipes to help get you started on your journey to healing anxiety and depression for good. If you enjoyed this video, give me a thumbs up and subscribe so that you can be the first one to see my videos as I release them each week. Thanks so much for being here. I'll see you next week.